The Sports Porch. And boy, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Welcome to the Sports Porch. Thank you for listening on American Busker iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio, 150 million registered users, 2,000 devices, 250 platforms. We could not be happier that you are here. And of course, we know why you're here. You're here because Steve is here, right? That guy over there, that guy right there, that's Steve.
I have to admit, today is a difficult show
Steve,
for me.
welcome to Pickettsburgh.
That's right. That's right.
It's a difficult show for me today, boys.
That's right.
I don't know how many F-bombs are going to be thrown, but there are going to be a few.
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. And, of course, we all know by now what has happened in Pittsburgh. Yesterday, we're going to just jump right into this. So chime in. I know I got a lot of you guys out there. You got a lot to say about this. We got a lot to say about it. This is probably one of the most pivotal shows we've had in a long time. I don't want to overdo it, but what I do want to encourage you to do is go to theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com. Check out my most recent column. I ran downstairs right after the Steelers game was over, and I penned this column because this is exactly the way I felt. Pickett's charge. Finally, Kenny Pickett is the Steelers quarterback. Finally.
And is it a good thing or a bad thing? Was it too soon?
Or a bad thing?
Or not soon enough?
And that's kind of where we're going to go. I'm interested in hearing what your opinions are on this. And, of course, the big question right now, and Tomlin does this, okay? This is the one thing that I find ridiculous. And I'm actually going to start here. I didn't know where I was going to start tonight. Because during that game, the three of us were texting. I know I'm not having anger. Well, I don't know that I would call it anger, but I would definitely call it perturbedness.
Because you're mad that he took your man crush and didn't set him up for success.
Maybe. Actually, what gets me now is that you bring Pickett in, and then after the game, you're non-committal about who's going to start next week. Okay. See, this is what I've been talking about since day one. They never had a plan to move on from Ben Roethlisberger. Okay. They thought their plan was going to be Trubisky, and I write about that in my column. Okay. But he obviously, even if he was the plan, he was going to be the Band-Aid. Okay. So if you got a Band-Aid, you want to leave the Band-Aid on to see if things heal. And what do? They go out and they get Kenny Pickett. And now all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
Pittsburgh Property Diva, our biggest sponsor in the house. Thank you for being here. We added Sassy tonight as our new analyst. She answered a couple questions for us.
Well, she can be like your mascot.
And she is our mascot. So really my pet peeve in this is if you're going to commit, you commit. And in the article, I said it. If you were going to put him in at halftime of the Jets game, why didn't you just start the season with him? If that was even a chance. What do you guys say?
I'm going to let you go, Mark, because once I start talking, he's got
nothing good to say. Nothing good to say.
Well, to me, I don't think it was a good move by Tomlin. But I also want to just also say to that if the Steelers had a defense, then this whole thing would have worked because he wanted to bring in Kenny Pickett because Trubisky was playing terrible. He was. And, he wanted a spark, and Pickett gave them a spark and got them a 20-10 lead. And if the Steelers had a defense, it would have been a heck of a story, and here we go. right? So I want to preface that first. However, knowing what we know, which is the Steelers are not a very good football team, it wasn't, and of course it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but it doesn't seem like this was the best route to take because the next 3 games are against Buffalo, Philadelphia, and somebody else good.
Miami.
Right. So
on the road.
So 3 good teams.
Steve's already out of breath.
So he's real. I mean, so Pickett's really, if he does continue to start, which I think he probably will, he's really being thrown into the fire, and also thrown into the fire in this game, without, the any first team reps. It would have been nice for Tomlin to have said something like, hey, we need better play at the quarterback position. We're going to split first team reps this week, something like that. The bottom line is the perfect plan would have been to get through these difficult games, 2 weeks during the bye, bring them back in after that to finish off the season, and maybe you go on a nice run, which I think still could possibly happen. But it could have worked, but it didn't. And it didn't because the team as a whole isn't that good. It's not to say they don't have some good players. They do have some very good players, in particular Minkah Fitzpatrick. Let's at least say something good about someone. But it didn't work.
So I want to get a few comments in here before we count down to Steve's meltdown. Tim Pomato from Palmetto checking in from Florida. Tomlin does not want to tip his hand for Buffalo as to who is starting. Tim, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think it matters who's starting. I don't think there's any tipping of the hand here. Jim says maybe it's Kenny Pickett. Mike Lawrence says the real impact in the game was, except for Fitzpatrick, our secondary is worse than awful. Yo says tip passes make the QB look bad, but he sure made us some points, more than Turd Biscuit, pushing us to field goals. Going to Miami game with my sons and friends, says Tim, good for you. And Mike confirms the next 3 are Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and Miami. We will be at the Tampa Bay game, by the way.
Absolutely.
And then Philadelphia.
And then Philly probably.
Philly,
so
right before the bye.
Are we going to count down to Steve's meltdown here? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And meltdown.
I will not melt down.
Yeah.
Like you're
Okay,
right.
I promise you.
I may explode.
First, let me just say that I said this team was awful. I picked them to go 7-10, but I didn't think they were this awful. And by this awful, this is what I mean. The Steelers actually had a plan coming into the season. You play a mediocre quarterback, you play great defense, and you sneak out games. It's clear that wasn't working. And it's clear that Tomlin had a plan B that I should have seen it all along. And that was when he put Pickett as his backup. I should have known something was going to happen then. But I didn't. I'm like, he just wants him to have first team reps. And all week long he said, nope, Trubisky's doing better. And then what does he do at halftime? Poof. Like magic. Turd Biscuit's out and Pickett's in. Okay, so let's just talk about the game for a second, and then we'll talk about the ramifications for the rest of the season. It actually worked, okay? It worked. Mm-hmm. Pickett came in, and he definitely offered a spark. But he also made rookie mistakes. So this is what you get when you play a rookie quarterback. You get mistakes, and he made 3 of them. And I don't care if the interceptions were tipped, so was Trubisky's. And he got pulled because of it. It's clear Tomlin wants to play Kenny Pickett. And that's going to be okay. But you have to recognize that that means a shit season for the Steelers, period. Because their defense is awful right now. They're 0-7-1 without TJ Watt, and they're not going to have him for several more games. Nobody's talking about him coming back, right? So he's not coming back anytime soon. He's smart enough to know wait until after the bye. Clearly, Tomlin's not smart enough to take his shiny new quarterback and wait till after the bye and try and make this work because he has no confidence in his coaches. He has no confidence in his quarterback. And now he's got the Steelers in an absolute shitstorm for the rest of the year.
All right, we'll see you next week. Yeah, I listen, I said this last week. This is a team in transition. And I think that the Steelers faithful for the last 20 years have assumed a couple things. One of the things they've assumed is that Ben Roethlisberger will always bring you back in the fourth quarter. He did a lot of that. They've also assumed that Mike Tomlin, and here's where the rubber's going to meet the road. They've also assumed that Mike Tomlin was the kind of coach that can coach a winning team. You know, he can turn a team into winners because, as you had pointed out before, it's almost in the mantra of the NFL now. Tomlin's never had a losing season. Well, you know, another guy who I'll talk about later in the show never had a losing season. His name was John Madden. Okay. And he only won one Super Bowl. All right. Mm-hmm. So the point about this is, for me anyway, is that if you knew going into the season that this was going to be a transition, then why didn't you transition rookie quarterback to begin with? That was why I was on that bandwagon. What you did was, I'm telling you right now, I think Kenny Pickett, and look, none of us are in the boardrooms. And that, by the way, is what makes our show so special, because nobody, first of all, no commercials, no commercial interruptions, three guys sitting around having a good time, knowing each other for a long time, talking about the, sports. We're experts in the sense that we've watched it for a long, long time. And I think we're as good as any other expert out there that's in the locker room. So that being said, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what his real plan was, but to me, it looks like he didn't have a plan that included Kenny Pickett when they signed Mitch Trubisky. And then Kenny Pickett looked like, oh my God, he might drop into our lap. And then you're throwing out the idea of Malik Willis to what? Keep people away from Kenny Pickett? Well, if that's the case, then you really shit the bed, because nobody wanted Malik Willis for 2 rounds after you drafted Kenny Pickett. So how much of a plan did you really have? I think you got so excited that you had this shiny new gem in Kenny Pickett and you were going to make the fans feel really, really good. So you went and you got Kenny Pickett. And then you said, oh, shit, what do I do now? And, Mitch Trubisky, from day one, and Schwaber, I want to go to you on this next. Mitch Trubisky, from day one, watching him in preseason, interviews, all this other kind of stuff. Once they drafted Kenny Pickett, he looked like a guy that was looking over his shoulder. He looked like a guy that was like, man, what did I get myself into? Because when he first stepped off that plane here, it was like, sign here, you're the quarterback. And I'm not saying whether he's good, bad, worth it or not. But, now I think Steelers Nation needs to realize that a transition year means you are going to lose. And no transition year comes for any team where every player is bad. So it's going to be unfortunate. You're going to have a couple years where you're probably trying to build. Hopefully Pickett develops into what he's supposed to be. And I think he can. But by the time Pickett's ready to really make a run of it, TJ Watt's going to be gone. He's not going to be the player. Well, he's not going to be the player he was. Schwab, he gets injured all the time.
I'll tell you what, in today's game, if you draft well and you do a good job in free agency, Steelers maybe it's an area that they tried harder at it this year. You can turn around fairly quickly. You can turn around in 2-3 years. You really can. You really can.
That. That's true in the NFL.
But here's the thing. Trubisky, I'm a little disappointed in his play. I thought he was going to play better.
Yeah.
I think that whether he, the bottom line is that he knew they picked Kenny Pickett in the first round, so he knew Kenny Pickett was going to be the starter eventually. But I'll tell you what, he also knew that he was going to have about 3 or 4 games, and if he made it so that Kenny Pickett couldn't go in, then he would have kept that job, potentially even the whole year. So, his poor play is what led to Pickett going in. I still think that Tomlin granted his putting in Kenny Pickett, to get some juice, a burst, it worked. But I also think because of what happened at the end of the game, it's kind of a little bit of maybe a panic move. Maybe he sort of was sitting there at halftime kind of saying like, oh boy, we got the Jets and next couple games are pretty tough. We need to win this game. I need to mix it up and see what happens, without really kind of thinking it through, kind of more a impulse decision maybe.
That's a good question, Schwaber. What do you think? What do you think was going through Tomlin's head? Because what I heard was that at halftime, this is according to Trubisky, that basically all Tomlin said was 8's going in.
8's in. Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
I heard the same thing.
What do you think was going through Tomlin? I know Tom said, yeah, we need a spark. What do you think was going through his mind?
I think what should have been going through his mind and what went through his mind were two different things. I think he second guessed his whole plan. Look, I'm going to take the TJ Watt injury aside because they should have seen the TJ Watt injury coming. And I think they did when they went and got Malik Reed and they tried to get some other guys to rush the quarterback. I think they knew
he gets injured every year.
They knew that his time was going to be out for a little while. So I think they tried to address that. And let's face it, they spent a lot of money on the defense. So even addressing it more meant that they knew that was that was a problem if he went down. So he went down. So I think Tomlin didn't wrap his head around how do I make the defense better, and instead started thinking how can I use Pickett more. And what happened with the Jets was we all watched that first half. It was an abomination of offense on both sides, really.
True. Yeah.
And I think he just lost it. Like he was like, I don't know what to do. I can't fire my offensive coordinator. And by the way,
we haven't even talked about
By the way, Matt Canada is the happiest man alive now that Pickett's in there because all the talk goes away from him and goes right on Pickett.
Yes.
And we should not discount that he's still running Matt Canada's offense, which is still terrible and awful. But instead of trying on defense, figuring out how do I cover that middle instead of letting Minka roam, maybe you put Minka in the middle and they don't make those passes to the tight end who is making all those catches across the middle, him and Corey Davis. I mean, instead of that, he was like, I'll just put in my new quarterback and he'll offer a spark. And you know what? He was right. He did offer a spark. But the fact that you're putting in your new quarterback who could be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 or 6 years if things work out well, to beat the New York Jets is the wrong way to think about this. The right way to think about it is stay the course. Let's see if Trubisky can get it done. And if he can't, then we'll make the changes later. And clearly he did not give Pickett any heads up. Although Pickett had been running first-team reps. I mean,
I didn't know that.
He does as a backup quarterback.
Oh, okay.
He gets a fair amount of reps.
Okay.
So he didn't come in stale. He knew the game. He knew the gameplay. He knew what he had to do. And here's the thing. Kenny Pickett's got good legs. He's got good grit. He got knocked down and he laughed in the guy's face. That was pretty cool.
I love that. I love watching that.
The fact that he was able to run in on like a third effort to get that touchdown, pretty impressive. The fact that Tomlin let him run it on fourth down from their own 32-yard line.
Right.
I mean, he never would have let Trubisky do that. So
right.
Is there some truth to he trusts Pickett more than Trubisky? It sure looked that way to me, just in the half he played. But I'm going to go back to this. If now you've got a new game plan for your year and it's Kenny Pickett, and it has to be. You can't go back at this point.
Right.
You cannot go back at this point.
No.
You can't pull him unless he gets injured. You can't pull Kenny Pickett. You can't do that to a rookie quarterback. He's the quarterback. It's the future. The future is now. But now you basically abandon let's just play safe because he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make mistakes.
Yep. And
you got to let him show his talent by running the ball, which means he's going to fumble, and passing the ball deep, which means he's going to throw interceptions. So you got to change everything up now. The whole season is changed because of that impulse decision in the locker room against the Jets. And that's my problem with this whole thing If you just would have stayed course, I actually think Trubisky probably wins that game.
Probably. He doesn't turn it over 3 times in the second half.
I don't know.
And Minka had that interception. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
could have scored from the 4-yard line.
Yeah.
Even Trubisky would have scored from the 4-yard line.
Yeah.
You know, and then all they needed was one more play and not throw an interception, and you win the game.
Yeah.
And I guess I have faith. I had faith enough with the process to that point that even though the offense looked terrible and awful in the first half, I think that would have worked out okay against the Jets, just against the Jets. In the long run, that's a shit-ass way of running a team because A, it's boring, and B, nobody wants to watch it. I almost turned the game off at halftime. And when Pickett came on in the second half, I had the game on anyways, even though I didn't know Pickett was coming in. But it was much more entertaining. So this is what we got now. We have entertainment, but we have a lot more losses because of it.
Well, let's think a little bit about the positive. You know, Pickett definitely showed that he can use his legs at the NFL level, and that does mean something because just because you can run in college doesn't mean you can run in the pros.
Right.
It's a different level of speed.
Right.
He made a really nice throw to Freiermuth where he stood in the pocket and took a hit.
Oh yeah, that was a pro throw.
Which is good. I mean that's fearless.
He hit a back shoulder on Pickens. That was
a great
hit.
Absolute.
He hit a back shoulder, but what was good about that pass was it was decisive, and it was quick. You know, where Trubisky tends to hold on to the ball too long.
Yes, he did.
Right, and to be fair. I mean, I know people are going to say an interception's an interception, but I also will say that both of the interceptions that matter, because I'm not going to count a Hail Mary, both the interceptions that matter could have been caught, especially the first one by Claypool.
Oh, yeah. That was a horrible effort by Claypool.
I think I heard somebody say today that's a 6'5" receiver. 6'3" receiver.
On a 5'8".
Playing like he's 5'8".
No,
right?
He was actually playing against a 5'8" defensive back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He
let that guy take the ball.
He let that guy take the ball from him. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, look, Freiermuth, okay, it was not a good throw. It wasn't a good choice. But it did hit him in the hands.
Yeah.
If the ball hits you in the hands, you're generally supposed to catch it. So, I was impressed by the fact that, there are a number of things that went wrong for Kenny Pickett, and he still battled out there. He looked poised. He didn't look afraid at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually a pretty positive start. And just so you know, I listed like 3 guys for you, one of which was Peyton Manning, who threw 3 interceptions in his first game.
Right.
So, look, don't compare to Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, I don't think anybody is.
Well, but
I don't think they are.
Well, I think some people are thinking like, well, hey, if he's that good, then he'll be that good. Ben Roethlisberger, number one, was that good. We don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to be that good, but Ben Roethlisberger walked into a Super Bowl team around him, and they didn't even ask him to do much. I mean, he was handing the ball off like he was throwing 15 passes a game. You know what I mean? So, it was a much different story for Ben Roethlisberger. Kenny Pickett goes into the game like Ben Roethlisberger did when Tommy Maddox gets hurt. He wins that game.
By the way, Roethlisberger wasn't handed a Super Bowl team the year before they were 6-10.
Well, no,
they were. That's why they got the pick they got. They were 6-10.
Oh, that's
Roethlisberger
true.
came in and he turned the team into a superstar. And I agree with you. We should not compare this team to Roethlisberger. Likewise, we should not compare Kenny Pickett to Peyton Manning either. And Peyton Manning played the whole game and he threw 3 interceptions. Kenny Pickett only had half a game and he threw 3 interceptions. But that being said, I agree with you that those balls weren't like terrible throws and were simple interceptions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is we got to slow the amount of Kennywood that's going on around here. He's not going to be the next Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
And now he's got a tough stretch of 4 really, really, really tough games. So now that he's our starter, let's see how he does.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, that's all you got.
And Mike Lawrence, he's trying to get in on he's trying to become an insider here. I agree, Schwaber. I agree, Schwaber. Hit him in the hand. Should have been caught. Hands of grand on our receivers. That's and this Pickett thing for me is all about patience. And again, I've said it over and over again. Yes, I'm a Pickett groupie. I wanted to see him play. I wanted to see him drafted. But the reasons that I wanted to see him drafted, besides the fact that he's just a damn good-looking guy, is that
he's got great flow. I'll give him that.
He does. But is that he has intangibles that you could even see yesterday. He keeps his eyes downfield. Mm-hmm. He's not afraid to take a hit. As a matter of fact, right now he enjoys getting hit. He's got an accurate throw. He can throw the ball pretty deep. And I think he has all of the tools. That being said, it's still a learning curve, but he is definitely in a position right now where he knows he needs to learn. He knows he needs to play. And to me, Trubisky, unfortunately for that guy, and he's really a nice guy from everything we've seen, but for me, Trubisky literally, once they drafted Pickett, Trubisky was on I can't lose my job mode, as opposed to being able to go out and play quarterback.
Yeah.
So that
playing scared versus playing excited.
Right. And so for that reason alone, I think Trubisky was his own worst enemy. Tomlin trying to play cute with next week, to me, is it's a farce. And I have been one of the biggest defenders of Tomlin. You guys know this for the last 10 years. Where they've said, he hasn't won a playoff game in 10 years. And then I would say, yeah, but he's got a winning record. And we'd go down that whole road. And I would say, yeah, but he's an NFL coach. You've got to be a good coach, no matter what your situation is, to consistently put a winner on the field. Now, he did win a Super Bowl, and you can argue all you want about, well, he was handed a Super Bowl team. Maybe he was, but he still had to coach him there. Nobody said that about John Gruden. When he left,
but
when he left the Raiders and then went over to.
Do we think of George Seifert as a great coach, or do we think of Bill Walsh?
No, right. I'm with you. No, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make more is that we have to have patience now. And that's what I was talking about in my article on the porcheslive.com. No, you're a Steelers fan.
You may want to have patience.
You don't want to have patience.
That's okay.
I know.
You can have all the patience you want.
Here's a guy who had patience for the first 49 years of your life?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now
miserable
we're cruising,
experience.
Man. Last 5 years has been good.
Right. I've had patience for the last, 32 years. 32 years. It's a transition, my friend.
It is a transition.
It's going to take a while.
And I'm okay with
transition. I think Kenny Pickett absolutely. I will go on record saying I think Kenny Pickett, if he stays healthy, that's always a concern, no matter how good conditioning you are, if he stays healthy and he continues to mature the way he matured through college, if he doesn't let that whole I'm the starting quarterback mentality get to him, and he goes, I've been watching a lot of NFL films lately. One of the biggest things they talk about is they talk about the difference between I'm gonna have to block this comment. I'm really sorry about whatever your situation is, but nobody here is going to donate anything to you.
What?
Yeah, we get spam comments on our live feed once in a while.
Sorry, that's my brother. He's just trying to be funny.
Is it really your brother? Oh no. Okay. Scott Walters, hello, gentlemen, and Chris, how you doing? Tim Pomato, the defense has got to show up. Haven't been around since the Bungles game. So I guess I'm going to finish my whole thing, and then we'll move on to other things or whatever you guys want to talk about. But I think we need to have patience. If he lives up to what I believe his abilities are, he is the franchise quarterback. He's already got the makings of it because he makes the right decisions. He does all the little things right. And now he's got to learn how to play in that system.
And they just better draft 2 offensive linemen next year.
Hell yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
By the way, I think I found our new Chickalo.
Oh, love it.
Who, Gunner the fumbler?
Gunner, hands of stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another great move by Gunner.
Yeah.
How can you fumble 2 punts and still be out there?
I know.
I mean, at this
Yeah.
He
point,
did it. Didn't he make the Pro Bowl?
He was a
as
Pro
special
Bowler
teamer
last year. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
Listen, there's a lot of distractions going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distractions going on. How about Jaylen Warren? Watching that kid run, I'm thinking to myself, why don't we feature him? Honestly, look, Najee's a
well,
good.
you know why.
Najee's a good guy, right? But Najee's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay. But every time Jaylen Warren gets the ball,
No.
he explodes.
No, I think they need to be running them both.
Well,
yeah.
But the problem with Jaylen Warren,
I did say he would make the team too.
he will fumble the
Genius.
ball if you give it to him more than 10 times.
That's
a game.
true. He has a
He
phone.
will fumble.
Yeah, and also
He's just not a big guy, and the way
Yeah.
he runs so fast, and those big guys against
Yeah.
that small guy,
They
that
pop
ball's
and
coming
also
right
realize right now when Jaylen Warren's in the game, the defense, at least right now, doesn't think he's getting the ball.
Hey, go back
So-
to Yo Carey's post. I'm going to put it up.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely right. I mean, if Kenny wins the next 4 games, everyone should kiss his ass because he will
Yeah,
be
yes.
a big deal at that point.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
No doubt. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Steelers. We're talking about becoming winners. And in my opinion, this is not going to be a winning year. But I knew that at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, no, I don't
And
think any
I'm
of us did.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Kenny Pickett being the guy. I guess I'm a little. Where did you use perturbed?
Yes.
I was a little perturbed over the fact that Tomlin gave him this captain. Made it look,
Trubisky,
yeah,
right.
made Trubisky look like he was going to be the guy. And at the first sign of panic, he is out of there. I mean, he didn't even give him a chance to show in a panic situation, and maybe the last 3 games were panic situations.
Yeah.
To be able to do something with it. That's my biggest beef with the situation the Steelers are in. It's not that they're going to be terrible this year. Steelers have had terrible years and have rebounded from it swimmingly. We'll be in the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. I promise
Should
you.
we write that down?
Write it down.
Write it down.
Because the Steelers are always in the freaking Super Bowl. We'll get there. It might not be with Tomlin. It might not be with Kenny Pickett, but we will be back. I promise you that. Write it down.
Super Bowl by 2027. Right there, right on the
Write
screen.
it down.
Super Bowl
This
by
is what happens with
2027.
the Steelers. I am just frustrated with the way
Yeah.
this season
Yeah.
has started, even though I predicted they would
Yeah.
go
Now,
2
Steve,
and 5 by the bye week.
I'll get you a Commander's hat.
something
buddy.
you
Don't
said
do it.
during the pregame when you were very heated. I don't know if you still feel the same way, but I believe I heard you call Tomlin a liar.
Oh yeah, that's
Well, he was a liar. I mean, he lied about giving Trubisky a chance. He lied about everything around Kenny Pickett. Like, we're going to bring him along slowly. He's learning the playbook. He's just everything that he's done to date has pushed you away from thinking that he would even fathom a move in the middle of the second half of a game to play his rookie quarterback.
right.
And that's
Right.
that's why I called him a liar,
No.
because he's putting out this false premise that Trubisky was our guy and there's no chance of Pickett ever happening, and boom, it happens.
Here's something interesting though.
Wait a minute. Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on that thought. Don't lose that thought. First of all, I can't help myself now because I picked the Jets to win this game.
Did you?
All right. Yeah. I picked the Jets. I
You
picked
did.
the
You
Steelers
did.
to go 0-5,
Yeah, you did.
0-6. Okay. But yesterday at 1:18 p.m., we keep a group chat going between the three of us. We chat yesterday at 1:18 p.m. I'm telling you, I could be the coach of this team. I'm just going to put that up there on the screen there. 1:18 p.m. Pickett by halftime? Question mark from the genius.
Well,
I saw this coming.
Nobody responded.
Let
to
me-
it.
let me
No,
talk
because you
about
don't want to. You don't
Let
want
me
to
talk
admit I'm a
about a real
genius.
genius. Now, I will say
A
this.
real genius.
I will say this. Now, what Steve is saying is 100% true, at least in terms of the way Tomlin has presented to the fans.
Right.
Okay. Now, I did hear an interview this week. There's a couple guys who, they constantly are on, national football talk radio shows, and they watch a lot of film and they go to practice and stuff like that. I can't remember who it was, but it was either Mark Schlereth or
Great O-line.
Brian Baldinger. It was one of those two. And I was listening to a national show, and he was previewing the Steelers game. And he actually said, if Trubisky is bad by halftime, I can see Kenny Pickett going in. And they said to him, well, what makes you think that? Because they're saying there's no chance that would happen. And he said, from what I understand, they're talking about it. So
Insider information.
information.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what they were telling me too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Clearly, right
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
texted.
Well, Sassy had it all
right,
settled
right
out.
when you got off the phone with Franco.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
I
Mean
love
Joe
it.
was at the game yesterday.
Yeah,
It
I
was
love
probably Mean Joe.
I love it. So, you know,
He's
that
worried.
being said, we've spent the entire first half of the show on this, which I knew we would. And I want to take just a brief second here to thank you for listening to the Sports Porch on American Busker iHeartRadio. And also, you can catch up with us if you can't see the whole thing on social media. You can catch up with us, listen to the podcast. We drop it every night after the show. You can catch the podcast on iHeart. You can catch the podcast on Apple, anywhere. And also, go to our website, theporcheslive.com. Really easy to find, theporcheslive.com. Sign up for our email list. We're going to start a newsletter soon. We're going to have more posts out there. We're going to have more Steve rants, and we're going to add some more merch. We had a lot of exciting things coming. We actually, Steve and I are going to be down at the Tampa Bay game in a luxury box. We're going to do a sports porch from down
So
there.
much fun.
And we have also figured out that you can do this on an iPhone, so we can bring you in
All
to the
right.
broadcast from home.
Okie dokie.
And unless you're paying attention to the Eagles, because they're like 7-0 and, you know, pretty much a shoe-in for the Super Bowl. in your
7-0
mind.
after 4 games is a great record.
Yeah, it's pretty good. No, I'm talking about Tampa
I don't
Bay.
know. They got to play Kenny Pickett
Yeah,
now.
they do have to play.
It's not
Kenny
like
Pickett.
they're playing Trubisky.
You think they're salivating?
Yeah, we got
They're
all
worried.
we got all kinds of comments coming here. Amy says, "What about Juju? Who cares?"
He did make it. He made a comment. Did you hear that?
Oh, I
did.
didn't.
He
Let's
made
go.
a
Yeah,
comment,
what?
yeah.
Tell me about that comment after I get these comments in.
Okay.
Yo, Kerry says, "Get Antonio
Oh, did you
Brown."
see
He's,
that one?
Yeah, he's full on lost it,
boy.
right?
Yeah, exposing himself.
Bills, Buccaneers, Dolphins, and Eagles are our next
Eggplant,
4 tough
yo.
games. Yeah.
The
So
good old
what
eggplant.
did Juju? Oh yeah, Juju said he's learned more.
He's learned
that
more
was on the
from Andy
broadcast
Reid
last
and the
night. Yeah.
Kansas City coaches in 4 weeks than
About
he had his
offense.
entire time with the Steelers.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of telling. Yeah.
Well, but here's the question.
I almost used the R word.
Here's the question. Sour
Didn't do it,
grapes.
though.
Here's the question. Sour grapes
Nah.
or speaking truth?
I think he's speaking truth.
I think it's sour grapes.
It's both.
I
It's
think,
both.
I think it's sour grapes.
It's both. It's both.
I don't know. I mean, Tomlin is a defensive guy.
Hey, he's played much better. Juju played much better as a Steeler. He's been pretty weak so far out
You
in
might
Kansas
as well
City.
light it up, buddy. We're just gonna jump right into the whole. You know, let's celebrate the end of. It's now officially the end of the Ben Roethlisberger era.
Oh
What
yeah,
do you think
officially, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't official. They couldn't get rid of the ghost of Ben while Trubisky was dancing.
You know
around
what? We
back
got to
there.
get Ben's podcast in the R somehow.
You
We
think
got to
so?
merge them somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
gotta
know.
get Ben.
I don't
We gotta
know.
get Ben's
I'd love to.
insight.
I'd love to hear Ben's thoughts
Yeah.
on this.
Here's
Come
the
on,
thing.
Ben.
Here's-
Hop
He
on
has
the
his own
porch.
podcast.
I know he
Here's the
does.
thing.
Hop up on the
You're
porch,
never
Ben. Let him
truly
know.
going to get rid of Ben Roethlisberger until somebody is decidedly good.
Yeah, and that happens.
Because I was having lunch with a bunch of guys today, and one of them said, "All I can tell you is I'm a big Ben guy, and he played great in the fourth quarter. And if we had Ben, we'd be 3-1."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's right.
yeah, he's
That's
probably
the
right.
Might be
difference.
right.
That's
Yeah,
the difference
even
between
even right
playing
now.
a bad
Mhm.
quarterback
Even
and
right
playing a Hall of Fame
Even right
quarterback.
now.
But unfortunately, we're not guaranteed a Hall of Fame quarterback ever again.
All right, guys. So you guys let us know. Please hit us up on social media. Send us an email. Send us a message. When you
Did
go
you
to
see
theporcheslive.com, you see a little black button there. It says say something. Leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you think. We'll get you on the show. Let's move on here, guys, because
Let's
we're going to
move
have
on.
so much more to talk about over through the whole
There
week.
are
This-
other
this-
NFL games
this
to
Kenny
talk
Pickett
about.
saga is gonna go on and on. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna talk about our predictions from last week. Every week we pick three games, and we're keeping track. We haven't decided what the winner gets.
Oh yeah,
by
let's
week
do
8.
that at halfway
By week
mark.
8, we got to get that
Yeah.
done.
Well, week 8 and a half.
Yeah.
Whatever. So last week Last week we picked the Miami and Cincy game, and the winner there was Cincy, and Mark picked Cincy. You and I each picked Miami. Of course, that was kind of a screwed up game because of the injury
I just wanted Miami to win to give
Right.
Steelers some cover, not to be at the bottom. But
Chiefs Bucks. Steve is the only one that had the Chiefs.
and
Chris
they
and Mark had
dominated,
the Bucks.
by the way.
They did
They
dominate.
did. I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know what I was thinking either. Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah. And Steve and Chris had the Bills over the Ravens. Mark had the Ravens. So
Ravens should have won that game, by the
They
way.
should've.
They totally blew
They've
it.
really blown some games this year.
They
Well, that's
really
the thing
have,
about
yeah.
having a risky quarterback like Lamar. You know, he makes some risky throws, and it costs them the game.
yeah. And that being said, that brings this week's records to Chris is now 7-5. Mark is 7-5. Steve is 5-7.
I made some ground this
Creepy
week.
never close. See, you
a
were
little
you
bit
were
every week.
totally defeated last week,
Mhm.
but I thought I actually, if that Bills
I
game,
thought
if
I
they
actually was 0-3.
Yeah. well, if the
I
Bills
forgot my picks.
if the Bills didn't come back and win that game, I was 0-3, and I predicted I'll have an 0-3.
Yeah.
So this week the games are, first of all, who we got? We got the Bills and the Steelers, and I think I picked I picked the Bills in that game. I think
I don't think anybody is picking.
Yeah,
Steelers
nobody
Yeah.
took the
this
Yeah.
Steelers.
Yeah.
I definitely
All
took
right,
the
all
Bills. Yep,
okay.
the big L.
Okay, so the first game of our actual record. By the way, congratulations to Albert Pujols. He just hit
Albert
home run
Pujols.
number 703.
Impressive.
Is he retiring officially after this year?
Yeah,
Yes.
they say so.
Yeah.
The only real non-cheater 700
No,
home
dude,
run
he
hitter.
roided.
I know. Of course.
Hank
he did.
Aaron, baby.
Of course he
He
Hank Aaron.
roided.
So
So
our
Judge
picks
will
this
roid
week.
before his time's over too.
our picks this
They
week.
all do.
I'm losing control because Steve is still ranting. Thursday night, Colts at the Broncos. I'll start with Steve this week.
It's simple. The Colts are terrible. The Broncos are terrible. The least terrible team that wins this game will be the Colts.
Okay.
This
So
is.
Steve is
but
going
you
with
said
the
it's Colts at Broncos.
Yes.
Oh boy, Russell Wilson looks bad, doesn't he?
But the
I don't
Denver
think they're
defense,
using
the
him
Denver
right.
defense is the best.
Yeah.
For points against in the NFL.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you right
That's
now.
why
I'm,
they're doing
I'm-
so
I'm
good.
I'm going Broncos.
That's
me.
Oh boy.
You need a coin.
Tails never fails.
Tails never fails. It didn't in overtime for
I gotta.
Green Bay.
I gotta stick with. Is the running back hurt?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
No.
he's not.
Well, he might be.
Yeah.
He's injured now, but they're saying he's going to probably play. Questionable going into practice on Wednesday.
Colts.
I like it.
He's not good anyways this year.
Steve and Mark have the Colts at the Broncos. I have the Broncos. All right, next game: Bengals Ravens for Tops.
Steve said Broncos.
No.
yeah.
Okay.
You said
Did you
Broncos.
say, are we taking? Wait.
I'm taking the Broncos.
No. I definitely got the Colts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got the Colts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunday night is Bengals Ravens.
Oh, Bengals Ravens.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not ready for this. Go ahead.
I'm not ready for this.
I didn't know we were picking that game.
You had all day.
I didn't even think
Is it
about it.
it's at Ravens?
Bengals at Ravens.
I'll go Ravens.
I'm going Bengals. I just think they're going to go on a hot. They're going to go on a hot
On
run.
a
here.
run.
I'm going to Ravens this one. They just lost a tough one to Buffalo. This is a division
Home
game.
on Sunday night for the national audience.
Yeah,
Lamar
I'm
Jackson.
going to Ravens. And our pick'em game: Rams
They
at
show up against
Cowboys.
Chase.
Rams at Cowboys, and Dak Prescott's trying to get back.
I
He
think,
might
I
get
think
back.
it might be Cowboys at Rams. Are you sure about that?
I don't know. You're the one that gives me the damn games. I mean,
Does it matter? Come on.
yeah, it does.
I'm going to say Rams.
Yeah, definitely. This is a tough one because I like the Cowboys defense. They're gonna get at Stafford.
Yeah,
Stafford,
it's Cowboys at Rams. Yes.
Stafford will make mistakes. God, my heart says Cowboys, but my head says Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams.
So you're Rams, Marcus Rams, and believe it or not, I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah,
It's hard. There may be a time where I pick the Cowboys,
I think
but it's hard pressed for me to ever pick the
Yeah,
Cowboys
I
and
get
put
you.
myself in a position
I feel that
to root
when they
for
play
them.
against the Eagles. You can just root for the Cowboys.
You know what? What I actually pray for when the Cowboys and the Eagles play
Nuclear bomb going off on the field.
I was going to say like a mass shooting event,
Yeah.
but
No, we
It's
don't
so
condone mass
iffy.
shooting events
It's
on the
so
board.
What's
iffy.
wrong with people
No,
these days?
no.
And you
I
wonder
don't-
what's
I
wrong
don't
with
know.
society. With
How about a
comments
bus crash? Something like that.
That's terrible.
No,
No.
but actually, if you think
How
about
about
it,
just a smoldering fire?
I have to think about no.
Nobody
Then
gets
innocent
hurt.
people get hurt. What it really
nobody gets
is
hurt.
is I spend a lot of time trying to figure out if there's possibly a way for them to both get a loss in the loss column for that game.
Well, you're
I mean, a
wishing
tie.
For,
Yeah.
no,
Tie.
How about a tie where they both equal a loss?
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You're a genius.
I'm a
Steve.
genius.
You've just hit genius level.
No, I think I've lost my mind.
All right, next week's games Thursday night, Colts at Broncos. Steve and Mark
I
have
will
the
not be
Colts.
watching that game.
I
by
have the
way.
Broncos.
There's no way I'm watching.
I'll
that.
watch
You
it for
can't
you.
make me watch that game.
I'll watch it for you. No, you'll be watching it on the group text. Bengals at
Maybe the
Ravens.
Penguins will
Steve
be
has
playing
the
that.
Bengals. Mark and Chris have the Ravens. Cowboys at Rams.
I'll watch the Pirates before I watch that game.
We all got the really. You'd watch the Pirates before you'd watch an NFL game.
Well, they won't be playing.
That's
next
tough.
week.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's this Thursday.
yeah.
They're still playing baseball
Yeah.
this week, right?
This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
potential
yeah,
clinch
yeah,
night
yeah.
for the Phillies.
By the way,
believe it or
by the
not.
way. Hey,
The O's
winning record,
winning record.
winning record,
You got a
baby.
big freaking bug on your hat. Or is that a leaf?
It's a leaf.
Okay.
There it is.
In the
Winning
form of a
record.
bug.
Winning record. Congratulations to my Baltimore Orioles.
Mike, you're probably right.
Gunnar
about the
Henderson, Adley
Cowboys winning.
Rutschman. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta
Cowboys
love it.
probably will fold like a cheap lawn chair.
Yeah, I
But
hope they
that'll
do.
be after Dak gets
I
back.
They'll
hope
do
they
worse
do.
with that.
Cooper Rush is a really good quarterback.
He looks pretty good. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Legitimate
Hey, if
backup.
Cooper Rush was our quarterback, we would not be playing Kenny Pickett.
Maybe.
I mean, these are things that don't matter. So,
Yeah.
all right, just like our next segment, which is headlines that mean something.
Oh,
We
well,
scour the
these
internet
definitely
for the
don't
world's
matter.
best headlines. And this week I'm going to start with Mark. Mark, your
Yes.
headline.
Yes, sir. Dream job. The Japanese man who gets paid to do nothing. Hey, that sounds like something I'd like to do.
Sounds
That's
like
Chris's job now.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
So
It's a living.
So the story here, okay,
I love it.
the story here is that this guy from Japan, his name is Shoji Morimoto.
They're
okay?
all named Morimoto.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he's 38 years old, and he was, basically at a job, and people were complaining like you do nothing at your job, you do nothing, and so he was like, maybe I should try to package this skill, and see what happens. So, 10,000 yen, which is $71 in American money, he basically rents himself out to do whatever the person wants to do.
That sounds
Some-
dangerous.
Some things have been like some guy just wanted to ride a seesaw with somebody. That was a job.
Does he put thes on like Upwork or Fiverr?
I have no idea what he puts them on,
Maybe.
but bottom line is he has booked in the past couple of years, he's booked 4,000 sessions. And there are repeat people too, like
Wow.
lonely people want to walk with somebody in the park. He just shows up, and he's like a companion for hire.
Seriously. So what's a promotion look like in that business?
I think you have to go to Vegas. To find out.
Oh, that's great. It's a living. It's a living. Headlines
It's a
that
living.
mean something. Oh, Steve.
Oh well, this headline just popped right out at me.
I bet it did.
Defective sex toys are being recycled into fashionable shoes.
And I call those Jimmy Dildoos.
So I guess I'm not exactly sure how I fell into this article, so don't ask.
How did you fall into this
Where
article?
did you find that? Hmm.
But anyways,
What
I
did
guess
you search?
did you know that there are a lot of defective sex toys
I did
that
not
need
know
to be
this.
recycled?
Oh, yeah, I knew all about that.
Yeah, of course you did, Chris.
I guess
And-
people don't want to put them in the bin on the curb.
I guess I wonder what a defect in a sex toy looks like. First of all,
Well, I can show you that.
There are
after
probably
this.
some things that
Yeah.
you probably would be like,
Yeah.
that's definitely a defect.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess
Actually, it's hard to tell what's defective and what's not on sex toys nowadays.
Well,
But I'm just
any way you
you know.
look at it, there are a lot of them out there, and I guess this guy, was, got, I guess he got into the sex industry, and they said, we've got all these sex toys that are either defective or no good. Here, take them because nobody will recycle them because they're made of this styrene plastic. And he found a way to actually melt it down and turn them into shoes. And he turned them, and there's 1,600 pairs of shoes for
1,600 pairs.
pairs of shoes.
Wow!
And you can buy them for a small $130.
Do any of them have like secret compartments?
Right now, there's only black because I guess they're talking about different colors and maybe melting them down so that.
But you know what they say. I'm not going to say it either.
I'm not going to say it either. But you too can have a pair of sex toy shoes.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, by the way,
By
the way, I figured this out just because I wasn't really realizing how large it was. That guy who gets paid to do nothing, 71 bookings if they were only an hour. Okay, I mean 4,000 bookings at $71 if they were only an hour. It's $284,000.
Yes, David, we all.
He's
are.
making $500,000, probably.
Yeah. Hey, does anybody out there need a? I got a big umbrella. We can go for a walk in the rain. All right.
David has the best response to the shoes.
All right.
A classic Bon Jovi reference: "Slippery when wet."
Slippery when wet.
Mhm.
Mike wants to know if they're waterproof and do they change sizes if rubbed.
No, Mike. I think one size fits all.
Perhaps a genie pops out. That's why I asked if they had any secret compartments. Okay, headlines. It means something. My headline, something I thought was hilarious. Did you know that spiders are actually afraid of spiders?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yes.
I always see spiders
Yes.
running from other spiders.
Yes. It is a possibility.
I was talking to a spider the other day.
Yeah.
And it mentioned nothing about being afraid of other spiders.
Did he see a spider and then you say kill it and he killed it or you killed it?
I put it on my hand.
Yeah.
Started having a conversation with it and mentioned nothing about being
Nothing
fearful
about it?
of other spiders.
Well, if you're not so fond of spiders, you may find kindred spirits in other spiders. Researcher Daniela Rossler worked with jumping spiders and found that they know to get away from the presence of other possible predator spiders, even if they've never encountered them before. She talks with host Maria Godoy about her research and what Halloween decorations do to the poor spiders.
Scaring
If
spiders.
arachnids can have arachnophobia.
People, take down your spiders. You're scaring the spiders.
I bet some little kids would be upset.
I got to tell you,
I never thought when we put our spider up in the front yard that I would be scaring off other spiders.
all I know is that
spiders are offended.
That guy that makes a living doing nothing.
Yeah,
he's not alone. If you think about it, all these meaningless, like, who the hell cares if spiders are actually? Where's
article.
the funding?
Maybe that guy wrote that article.
It's not funding.
Well, that's something.
I'd like to get some funding to discover why it is that I'm actually friends with you. That's more important than spiders being scared.
Well,
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Okay, well, maybe next show.
All right. Last segment. What we're watching. We scour the internet for things. We watch things that are good, that are bad, that we're indifferent about. I'm going to start with Mark right now. This is something that he recommends. And this is actually right on the, the sex toy footwear theme.
Really?
Yeah.
White hot.
Bit. Go for it, Schwaber.
White hot, the rise and fall of Abercrombie.
And how in the hell did they get that picture of me in college? That's what I want to know.
Well,
I mean,
you wish.
Yep.
You wish.
Yep. At least the bottom part.
Anyway, it's funny. Do you remember how crazy it was that you would actually like walk around the mall and there would be guys out there shirtless outside Abercrombie and Fitch that were like models?
Yeah, it pissed me off. Totally pissed me off.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, it kind of goes into sort of like an ingenious marketing plan to create this brand that, totally blew up. But then also the fall, in which basically the owners, the founders of Abercrombie and Fitch, all they really cared about was the image, and the image was to be really good looking.
Yep.
And so their hiring practices were basically like, if they're not good looking, we don't hire them. Right. And
And when
you know,
you're bad looking, you're out.
right, exactly. And they really kind of took it far and really kind of bent the rules on things. And they brought in like a diversity person, and even they couldn't really make a dent. It just seemed like the guy who was like the owner just seemed like kind of like a really kind of greasy, gross scumbag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the 90s, man.
Yeah,
It was the glory days.
It was the late 80s.
Yeah.
I think.
it was.
Late
I mean,
80s,
it's
early
still-
90s.
yeah.
90s.
It still was pretty.
Go-go 80s.
It still was pretty surprising.
They're still around too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was. Do
But you don't-
they have a store?
Yeah.
I don't know if they do. I think they might
Maybe
be
they
out.
don't.
But
As you can see, I am, from that earlier picture. I mean, I'm
Right.
the perfect physique
specimen, yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
He's a specimen.
But it was interesting. I mean, it wasn't too different. Like there was
Yeah,
a little bit
specimen
of.
for you.
It was sort of like the little bit of similarity between, between like the Woodstock and this was just like how just completely like unaware the founders were.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Very
right.
yeah.
Just so unaware.
I mean, if you're
what they
selling
were doing.
clothes, you're selling sex.
Right.
That's really what it comes
Yeah.
down to.
Right.
Yep.
And that guy just, took the shirts off of some of the good-looking guys with 8-packs.
Well, but there was stuff like what happened was, if let's say like you had certain people in the store that they didn't want to be out front. Well, when they got like diversity involved, then what they did to get around that was they changed the titles. So
Yeah,
the people
yeah.
outside
right,
were
right.
models,
Yeah.
and the people in house were like in house or something
Yeah.
like that.
All right.
So-
White Hot,
It
the documentary on Abercrombie and Fitch. Was that on Netflix, Schwaber?
was Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was Netflix. Okay, we're gonna move on to Steve here. Steve is watching something called.
A Trip to Infinity.
This sounds interesting.
Yeah, so, I mean, for all... Now, this is right up my alleyway, being an engineer, I had to do some computations with Infinity
Really?
back in the day, and I don't do that anymore.
Was
clearly.
it? Did you go to Infinity and Beyond?
I did not Buzz Lightyear it, no. In fact, I had no clue what Infinity was. All I knew was it had these certain rules, and I had no idea what they meant. Well, guess what?
What?
This show on Netflix gets a bunch of physicists and gets a bunch of mathematicians, and all they do is sit around and talk about infinity. And you will be absolutely amazed at some of the concepts they come up with.
Really?
Yeah, I can't even
Should I
begin
smoke
to tell
something
you.
besides a cigar before I watch
You
it?
won't need to, because the
Really?
moment you start watching it, your head will start to spin,
Yeah.
and you'll be like, why am I watching this?
Then why should I watch it?
Because you will get so engrossed
Does
in
it widen your
all,
mind?
all the definitions of infinity and where it leads you. Guess where? It leads you to infinity.
Right.
Wow.
Forever. As far as you can go.
Yeah.
Beyond.
Wherever
ends.
wherever that would be.
To
Never
infinity and beyond.
It's actually very well done. They
Cool.
use some really concrete examples for a concept that is absolutely zero concrete.
and to infinite.
Forever.
All right. All right. It's
Watch
a
it.
trip to infinity. What I am watching is something I watched the first season of it. I can't believe I didn't mention it. Season 2 just dropped. It is also on Epix. It is called NFL Icons.
Oh,
and
that
it's
looks
narrated
good.
by Rich Eisen. This is
Classic.
season 2. The first episode of season 2 was John Madden. And let me tell you,
Icon.
what a great story.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Even if he did whine about the Immaculate Reception for way too long.
Yeah, he passed away unfortunately last year, but
He's
I believe
dead.
he's dead. Spoken like a true Steelers fan.
And he's still whining about the Immaculate Reception somewhere.
Anyway, listen, if you like the NFL like we do, and if you're watching our show,
Oh,
you
this looks
probably
great.
do.
I gotta watch it.
It's on Epix. There's 2 seasons. Each first season is 8 episodes. There's only 4 episodes out on this season, so it leads me to believe there's going to be 4 more. NFL Icons, excellent. The next one's Walter Payton. I'm going to watch that one.
Sweetness.
But yeah, absolutely. Great show to watch. Really, really appreciate how they do it. Rich Eisen narrates it. He's pretty good. Let's put this back up here. And next week we will be back on same bat time, same bat channel.
Here we
on
go,
the-
a new era in
on the
Steelers
porch
football.
for a new era
Pittsburgh.
in Steelers.
Oh, by the way, Pitt finally fit.
Yep. Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
They're terrible.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening on
Great show,
American
guys.
Busker iHeartRadio. Check us out on the425.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can catch our podcasts anytime, anywhere you listen to the podcast. Sports with that. We are out. Have a great week, guys. Stay real.